I was at recess in like pre-K, and Ryan Peters came to all the school and he handed out flyers, and he would go up to everybody, whether they looked athletic or not, and he said, "You look like you could be a good wrestler," and he handed out flyers, and everybody on the street started wrestling. I wrestled with Al Jacober, Ryan Harris, David Shapiro, Grant Blumenthal, Anthony Walden, Paulie Flowers, Al Ingersolla. I worked out with Alex Ronzek a bit, but I was in junior high when he was in high school. We had a really good group of guys. We were a small team, but a lot of guys who really wanted to win. So my coaches were Dugan Bentley was our head coach, and our assistant coach was Mike Arnold. Adam Krawinski was there, Jeff Pelton, Tom Strawn, but mainly Dugan and Mike Arnold were the two staples all 4 years. I used to go every year to the state tournament with my dad, with Ryan Peters, and we used to go and watch. And one specific memory, Ryan took me when I was in 8th grade, and he took me in the tunnel before the Schottenstein Center to like get me comfortable there. But I think once you're there and get your hand raised, it's just like, I don't know, you kind of black out a little bit. It's insane. One of my favorite memories is of, it wasn't really with Coach I, but at Beachwood Elite, the first day of practice, we had a push-up competition every day. You were in the memory. We lied to you too. It was you and your brother. You were like, I don't know, it had to be like 170 push-ups or something. And you're just like, who's left? And we're like, one more guy, just keep going. And he had quit like 50 push-ups ago. But I did like that. We used to do legs 6 inches in the air. And Ryan Peters would be counting down from 10. And he would hit 0 or 1. And everybody would put their feet down. And he'd be like, I never said put your feet down, up again. And there was always that one kid, and he would make us start over. It probably took us 20 minutes to get 10 seconds worth of 6 inches done. And I don't know, they were always focused on the positive mental attitude at a really young age. Beachwood Wrestling in particular was really focused on education. You had Scott Peters, who was on the school board, and I remember I didn't finish my homework, and my mom brought me to practice, and coaches made me finish my homework in the corner before I could join everybody. But I think that was just the lessons they taught us, is like, you don't get to play until you finish your work. And I grew up in an era, so my best friend at the time was Ryan Harris, and he was like just an athletic specimen like no other for 6. He was like riding a 2-wheeler before I could walk. Like, he was just a freak athlete, and he was super strong, and he was winning every tournament. And he would win every tournament, and I would go 0-2, or I'd go 1-2, or I'd get pinned. There was this point, like, I got headlocked by the same kid like every week for like 2 months. And I just wasn't strong. I wasn't athletically built at the time. And my mom went to Scott Peters and said, hey, like, he stinks. I think we should cut him. And your dad's like, well, does he enjoy wrestling? And my mom's like, yeah, he loves it. She's like, okay, like, trust me. He's going to be a state champ. Just trust the course. And I think that's an important lesson, is because I didn't know the difference between winning and losing. I was just having fun. I was with my friends. I love the bison game and the dodgeball and wrestling it with technique and doing everything in practice. And I wasn't physically built yet, but I think once I started lifting weights, which was like around 6th or 7th grade, and I started getting physically developed, is when I started like seeing that I had put some good foundation in my wrestling ability. I don't know if Scott really thought I'd be a state champ, or he just says that to everybody. I have no idea. Growing up, I looked up to Kevin and Jordan Lipp. They were like my heroes. When I got to high school, I don't know if I idolized anyone, but I think they were my heroes growing up. They were just so good. They were both like anytime, and they were going to the Ironman, and they were winning the state tournament, and they were getting recruited, and they were just like, I just remember watching the dual meets and going, and you could just see the fear in other people's eyes when they wrestled them. And I don't know, I also thought like they were unbeatable. You could tell he had a great mind in wrestling, and he coached me in junior high, so I didn't get to spend as much time with him. I used to eat lunch with him too, and we would talk about his story. He remembers every single Beachwood wrestling match that he has ever seen, and we used to talk about it all the time. Just like to see his analytical mind was incredible, and some of that he would bring into the practice room, and he was fun too. I think I got a tamer version of Coach I, because I've heard stories of him, being more of a scary guy. He wasn't scary when he coached us, but I think he was also really big. He would always like get really upset at me when I was cutting a lot of weight, and I think he kind of saw the bigger picture of being a better wrestler. I have a really young memory of Coach I. I just remember like Coach I loved his wrestlers, and I think Coach I was in 2nd grade, and during winter break, there was no Beachwood Elite practice, so we went and worked out with the high school. So like we would have a little, 6 or 7 of us who would be working out at the same time as the high school. And I remember it was New Year's Eve, and Coach I was just like, no questions asked, like, you guys need to be safe tonight. No getting behind the wheel drunk, no none of this. And I think, at the time I was like, how could they drink? It's illegal. But, I learned that I think Coach I really, he understood what kids were going through in high school, and he wanted what was best for them. And I think I don't know why it sticks in my memory, but yeah, he loved his wrestlers. I think, I brought a high pace and tried to bring everybody up. I think what was special about, and I can't take full credit, but I think the group of guys we had, we got dangerously close to making the state dual tournament. And I think just the level in the room of Ryan Harris, me, Anthony Walden, Gordon Hong, like all of these guys got elevated, I think. And I think it was because of just like this competitiveness in the room. To be successful in wrestling, I think you have to have an intensity, a little bit of an obsessiveness about you. And I think that has really transitioned to the work world. I think my wife and I have a small company, and I think I try to bring that intensity. But also wrestling taught me how, especially at a really high level, whether it's at the collegiate level or the high school level, you can't focus 100% of your energy on wrestling because you will burn yourself out. And I think that has transitioned over into me knowing, hey, you can't work 24/7, you have to take a break. Expect hard work, expect to get beat, expect to lose and to be humble and be held accountable, but expect to have a work ethic.